Hello, welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 242. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Isley
Yo,
and Messiah.
Hello.
Isley's got a working computer in mostly
sort
good
of.
health.
So,
Wahoo!
sort of. Working's a stretch, but I have working Discord.
This is true. This is true. You do. Yeah, I was gonna see if I didn't know what time you were gonna try to pick up your computer. I was like, oh, we could try that PlayStation Discord option I was talking about the other day, but I'm not sure if that'll work or not. But here we are. We had a pretty interesting week in news. We'll start with some of the small stuff first. In Microsoft announcing their Wave 2 lineup for Game Pass, including Witcher 3, which is that's fun. Game's been out for a while. I feel like a lot of people who wanted to play it have played it, but if there's any holdouts, it is the complete edition, so you can't play that. And then Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, surprisingly, is on the Game Pass, which I feel like is a very quiet hit. Like a lot of people, I feel like are playing that game a bunch. So that is coming out, as well as we mentioned previously. For this month, it's going to be Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. So there's that. And then the other bits of news is we had some Japanese developers pass away recently. Hideki Sato, who is the father of the Sega hardware, passed away at 75. So not necessarily too young, but they were they worked on a lot of the Sega stuff in Sega's R&D department.
Mhm.
Working there in 1973 and whatnot. But yeah, they passed away. But then also we missed it last week because it happened right after the podcast episode. But Shotaro Ida passed away at 52, rather young age, after battling pancreatic cancer. They were working on, of course, Bloodstained: Scarlet Engagement. But with that passing, we did have confirmation that the game will continue under Koji Igarashi, who was the series producer, well, Castlevania series producer, of course, will help finish that game. So he was not the director of this one, but he said, I will go ahead and step up and help get this out. So it's good to see that, hey, this game that someone was working on, that they're directing, and then when they pass away, someone else picks it up on the team to help take it over. So that's good news. And then moving on to some other stuff. Replaced got delayed again, which is the long in wait Xbox title. It's that 2.5D kind of cyberpunk side scrolling looking game that has been shown, I feel like, forever. But yeah, it got delayed a month. It is now coming out on April 14th. It was originally going to arrive on March 12th, but it got delayed. So at least it didn't get pushed out like 6 months or something. That would be kind of crazy. So close to launch.
Mhm.
Which is a game I'm probably gonna play on PC because it does look pretty interesting if it comes out on if it's not locked to like the Xbox store or something. But yeah, it is a game. I'm like, you know what? I'll probably check this out when it comes out. But no, I'll have to wait and see. Just because I'm kind of, which is nice because I haven't really been paying attention to any of the previews because it was an Xbox title and I don't have an Xbox obviously. But now it's like, oh, it's coming out soon. It'll be on PC. Maybe it'll get like a 9 or a 10. I'll be like, oh, sweet. I got this game I know nothing about. Except that it's a, Cyberpunk E. I can give it a shot and play it and just kind of go in blind and not really know too much. So that's, I'm looking forward to that. Then I did see a funny bit about how Assassin's Creed Shadows got updated to have a dedicated jump button in the game, which has been in other titles,
Huh.
but I guess didn't have a dedicated jump button in this one. I feel it must have been, and again, I didn't play too much of it, so there was that long running time where Assassin's Creed had like that contextual do everything button, where it's like, yeah, it would jump, but also if you're parkouring, it would be the parkour button, it would be the climb button, it was like the everything button, and I'm assuming that must have been the case. I did play a little bit of Shadows, but I'm not necessarily jumping everywhere in those games, so I'm like, do I need to jump? Like, I'll jump from something to something. I'm not just running around bunny hopping everywhere. So I'm like, I I don't feel like I was ever missing out on anything, but I did think that was funny that they're like, oh, here's an update. You can have a dedicated jump button. I'm curious how they remapped the controls then, but because sometimes like everything they do is done for a reason. So if they have the buttons mapped a specific way, it's like, okay, now we have to dedicate one to this. Like, what did they move in order to make that work?
That's
Real.
such a weird that's such a weird thing. It's just like people really complain about not having a dedicated jump button because yeah, you're right. Like I don't ever recall. Well, maybe, but I mean, you don't really like jump onto things or from thing to thing without like the context of the action button just doing it.
Right. Like,
That's funny.
I'm curious. Like, if I'm running up in any video game, and like, oh, there's a fence. I'll hit X to vault over it. Like I can jump in Borderlands 4, but I'm not running around jumping all the time. Like I do jump more in that game because that game has a glide uh, function. So it's like you jump and then you glide. But usually I'm doing that like I'm running down a hill, so then I jump and glide so I can make it further or go someplace or whatever. Or I'm like jumping off a cliff and gliding somewhere. But I'm not just like if I'm on a flat plane, I'm not bunny hopping all over the place. It's like
Mhm.
it's interesting whenever a game has like it's like, oh, you can jump now. I'm like, okay, but I'm only doing it really when I need to.
Okay, thanks.
And usually there's a prompt to do it, like in like again, going back to Assassin's Creed, being like, "Oh, I wanna jump from this to this, okay." Now it can
Mhm.
be annoying when it's like it's got that bad you had some of those versions where it's like had the bad contextual parkour that was like, "No, no, no, I didn't wanna go to that one. I wanted to go over here."
Mhm.
But but yeah, I did think, that was a funny little update for it to get. And then moving on, we had talked previously about how, Zach Greger, who's the director of Weapons, uh how he is doing a Resident Evil movie, and he basically in this article I was seeing that he has carte blanche in whatever he wants to do, and it doesn't have to feature any familiar story or characters. He could just do a movie. Resident Evil, it doesn't have to
Mhm.
be connected anyway, which I think is really could be really interesting. But then I'm wondering if we're going to hit that situation like we've talked about with Silent Hill F, where it's like this is a good game, but it could have been from an indie studio that Konami had reworked into the Silent Hill franchise. Like, could this be a good movie? But is it a good Resident Evil movie? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Resident Evil 5's a great co-op game, not the best Resident Evil game. So it's like, okay, is it good? Will the connections matter? Is there going to be a T virus, or is it just like I imagine if he does anything, it could be like, okay, you have the Arclay Mountains and the mansion, and then you have Raccoon City. Are there any homes
But
like the Baker in between there?
I will say this for Resident Evil that's a little bit different from Silent Hill is in the past few years, Resident Evil has moved away from being just about Raccoon City and being more about, okay, we're essentially like a virus containment team. Like
Mhm.
each game is essentially about containing a virus, whereas the whole issue with Silent Hill is like Silent Hill was about a specific town and a very specific location. It wasn't about like a broad metaphysical concept. I know Silent Hill F tried to make it that way, but like it wasn't really about a specific concept. It was about like personal trauma in Silent Hill. Resident Evil, I feel like with, 4, honestly, they kind of started moving away from that, being like, okay, here's a new one. It's not the T virus anymore, it's Las Plagas. And then fucking Village has vampires and werewolves. So it's like they've at least moved further away.
Yeah, but it's always kinda like but my thing is there is like, okay, if you make something that's on its own, it doesn't have to do any of those stories, I'm like, okay, how do you make this, interesting to people who have no idea what Resident Evil is? Like, you have to at least give them some of those basics, be it a T virus or just medical experiments or something like that, uh, like in 1 or 2. So I'm curious, like, what he'll do. Like, that's why I'm wondering, like, if there is any residential homes, like, I feel like with the way he does stuff, with Barbarian and Weapons, if it's like, okay, is it gonna be like between 1 and 2, there is all like, if there's any homes in the hills or mountains, like, before the mansion, just some people live in there who don't live in the city, they work in the city, but they live out in the mount like, somewhere else, right? And it's like, okay, is there gonna be any kind of movement of zombies and the dogs or whatever between the mansion to the city before then? Like, are they gonna be like, "What the hell's going on?" And it's just, like, kind of an isolated, oh, what's that, Evil Dead situation where it's like but it's like these zombies, like, what is he gonna do to make it more isolated and personal? Or, I'm curious what he's going to do. Like, how like, I feel like you still need some connections to even have the name, regardless if you have carte blanche to do whatever you want. Like, you have to have something. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, considering some of the other games and their only connection being like the characters themselves, I I
Yeah.
I tend to agree. Like Resident Evil has kind of branched off into its own like genre of thing rather than like this is specifically about Umbrella or whatever. Like there's I've been watching Ray and Lime Malicious play Resident Evil 6, and that is held to
6
the Resident
is
Evil name with like
ooh.
a Dream and Gum. Like, there's
But it's like,
nothing Resident Evil about it except for the characters. So
yeah,
it's like, yeah, you can get away with being a little, like, just kind of taking some creative liberties, I suppose, as long as it's good. I mean, 6
and
isn't good, but, like,
it's not even just 6 though. It's like 6 is pretty weird. 7, to be honest, is also weird. It's like strange mold people. Like I know that the
yeah.
DLC kind of tied it back and the ending they tried to tie it in, but like realistically, 7 is like here's some weird mold rednecks like living in the
Well,
valley.
at least with the they tie it in eventually once you get to the tanker, and then you okay,
Right.
find out what's going on with the girl. Like that's
But
they finally, and
all
then
they'd have to do
that's
with
what
the
it'll be
movie.
at the end. It'll be post credits. It'll be Chris shows up.
Yeah, that's all they
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to do
yeah.
with the movie.
But I don't know. I feel like you need. I don't know. I feel like it should just be back to the basics because like at least all of the Resident Evil movies have all been like the virus, and then just everything about like it's always been the
I'm
virus is
sorry,
always
but
there.
one of them has a zombie dragon.
I know that
So,
Umbrella
like,
Umbrella
let's not
jumped
Oh,
the
no,
shark.
pretend
isn't
let's
that
not pretend
no?
that the Resident Evil movies are, like, canon or
I didn't say they were canon. I'm just saying at least they all had like a lot of them did like scenes from the games or whatever, but it was still like the virus, a variant of the virus. Like it was always there versus like, like we talked about with 7 where it's like an offshoot and like how does this connect? How does this connect to yada yada. So I'm just curious like how I don't know, like how like this will be an interesting experiment too because we see the opposite a lot with Marvel, where it's like, oh, they get a director who wants to do their own thing, like Ant-Man, right? And it's like, oh, he Edgar Wright wants it to be this thing, but then you get pushed back from Marvel. It's like, no, it has to be more like this. So we've never really had like a good, except maybe the Eternals, which was whatever, but it was not nice, but like where the director gets to do more of what they want and we don't get a whole lot of that with Marvel, where it's like, okay, like that's why you pick a director because you want their style. You got a little more of that with, Doctor Strange in the second one, the Universe of Madness or whatever I forget what it's called, Multiverse of Madness, and it's like, okay, that's way more Sam Raimi. But like, will this be? Especially, I'm just thinking with his style, of, like with Barbarian and with weapons, like it feels like it should be grounded in both of those are in neighborhoods. Like it should be grounded in a little neighborhood on the outskirts where some shit's going on or something. Like I don't know.
Doctor Strange and the T-Virus of Madness.
There you go. Just to fit his style. Like he obviously he has a style right now. So I'm just thinking like
I think he could do a great job. I'm just saying, like, to be honest, like Resident Evil 7 would be the perfect kind of story for him. Like a slightly more ground. I mean, I know near the end some of the monsters get kind of wild, but like you could essentially take a small approach like that where it's, focused on one house or two houses or a small area, like you're saying. I just don't think Resident Evil is going to be nearly as hard to tie back to. All you have to do is insert a virus. Like insert a virus, have like a little cameo or something, and bam, you've tied it back to Resident Evil the games.
yeah, which I understand. Like there has to be like you don't
The,
have to have any characters. No fan service with characters is fine. I don't need that.
my my question is, I'm curious if they're gonna go with like classic slow moving zombies in the movie, or if it's just gonna be more of like a virus thriller. Because I do feel like that's one way that Resident Evil changed from the first games to later ones, which I know the early games had viruses, but they felt much more like zombie games. And the later ones don't feel like zombie games. They feel much more like virus games. And I'll be curious to see which direction he goes with that.
Hmm.
Because zombies are different. Like the slow moving zombie trope, way different than like infected humans, losing humanity trope.
Well, that's because they're bioweapons, right? Like that's the whole thing. So it's like
Mhm.
all the monsters are they're death claws. They're
Right.
bioweapons. Like
Right.
they're
But like from a movie perspective, that's what I'm curious about. Is like, is he going to go with like, I want to remake a classic zombie movie and like I want to try my hand at zombie movies, or is he going to try to go with the like horror bioweapon virus thriller type style?
right. Yeah, it would be interesting. Well, I'm thinking like I don't want to spoil the movies he's done for people who haven't seen them, but like I'm thinking like with Barbarian, like it would be interesting to what if no, I don't know, you could do like what if like I was trying to think like what if there was like a member of Stars who was new, like they just got they just passed training or whatever to be a Stars member, and then it was like it's just the movie is Nemesis coming after this fucker, just being like I gotta get away, and it's just like this you're just constantly being hunted. But then you have like this stars every now and then be kind of like goofy
Mhm.
in the movie, but I don't know. We'll see what he does. Like I'm excited. I just again I'm there's that line of balancing good movie and is this really Resident Evil? Is I feel like I there's a good balance I feel like you can do, especially with the way Resident Evil has gone recently with like the TV show that they did that wasn't that good. Had some fun stuff in it, but like it wasn't great overall. But yeah, it's we'll see. I'm sure it'll be like a ways, like way off too, before we ever get it. But yeah, it'll be wait and see. We can talk about it on the podcast once it comes to video on demand and we watch it. That'll be a fun time. And then yeah, moving on to the big news this week is that PlayStation shut down Bluepoint Games. Um,
Boo.
Bluepoint
Wild decision.
was I know
Mm.
they obviously they've done a ton of stuff. They did the Nathan Drake collection. They did the God of War collection. They did initially the Shadow and Eco collection, Shadow Colossus Eco collection. They did a Metal Gear Solid collection. They worked on that. They worked on some ports for some games. I think they worked on the port for Titanfall 2 to Xbox 360 or Titan maybe it was just Titanfall 1. And then they did obviously the big old Shadow of the Colossus remake and the Demon Souls remake. And then Sony had them working on a multiplayer live servers God of War game up until January 2025, and then they had them stop that, and then they tried to pitch them on other stuff, and then they just never got anywhere. And it's like it feels very Xbox like, and especially when you do live service, and they helped make they did development assistance on God of War Ragnarok as well. Like they're like a support studio as well. Like they did a lot of stuff, but like why did you have them work when Sony had that big live service push years back? We're like, oh, we're gonna have like 12 live service games in the works. Obviously, it's coming back to bite them because so many of those are gone now.
Mhm.
But why would you have
Who could have
Bluepoint do it,
predicted?
right? But why like at least
It's
when they did that initiative and they purchased the studio or they teamed up like with Jade Raymond's studio, like, hey, we'll support you in your thing. That's doing someone who's already doing a game and then you do that versus making your team, your internal teams like, hey, let's work on this stuff. But yeah, it's like, how
it's
did you
so
fumble
weird
this?
because I feel like Bluepoint only ever brought them money and only ever did exactly what they told them to do. Like it wasn't like they dropped the ball on any development of a game. They only did what like business development from Sony told them
Mm-hmm.
to do for money.
Mm-hmm. Right?
And the God of War, yeah, so that's why it's like weird to me. It's like they did a great job on everything they were given, and I guess we don't know the full story behind God of War. Like, I guess we don't know if it was canceled because it was live service or because it wasn't going well. Like, we don't know that, I guess. But it sounds like a horrible idea to begin with to have a God of War live service game, which
Mhm.
doesn't feel like that was something they chose. It kind of feels like that was something Sony chose. But it's a weird decision because it's like, okay, just give them another remake. There's plenty of games. Everyone wants a Bloodborne remake. Like, figure out how to make that work or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like even if it was, the game wasn't coming along like a Last of Us multiplayer, Last of Us faction situation for Last of Us 2. It's like even if that was the case, that's still bad management decisions on Sony's part. Like they have never done this. The only IP they had that was their own was Blast Factor and from what 2006 and like it was like okay, like it wasn't necessarily a great game, but it's like none of their pedigree shows that oh, we've done multiplayer. Like, why would you do that? It's like making From Software do a battle royale. Well, that's a bad example because they did Night Rain, but like a first person shooter battle royale, like that's not what they're known for. You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? And so
Mhm.
it's just it's a total mismatch. It's like, what are you doing? Why would you have them do it? Unless I don't know. It's like unless it started life under Sony Santa Monica and like, okay, well, let's have you guys pivot. We'll hand off the project to this team. They can continue it and yada yada. Maybe because they were like as support, it's like, okay, I got groundwork there. But it's like, yeah, why would you give it to a studio that has no history of it's like, yeah, they ported Titanfall to 360, but that game was done. It's a port. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know how you fuck that up, man. It's like it's so I just don't get it. It's so Xbox levels of stupid this one. Like the other ones where it's like they close down a live service studio or whatever. It's like I get why. This one, like you said, it makes no sense. They have so many things they could do that you could keep it was like 70 people. You can't keep 70 people afloat. You're like what the fuck, man? But you could
70 people
support.
that are part of a studio that have not really had any negative impact on the company as a whole, like
Yeah, and, like, it's crazy too because it's like, you look at their track record, like, I'm surprised we're in 2026. I'm surprised we haven't had 2 we could have had, like, 2 big remasters from them, because when you look at their release schedule, like, they did, and again, like, 2009 God of War Collection PS3, 2011 Eco and Shadow Colossus Collection, and Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, 2015 Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection, best video game trailer out there, by the way. Gravity Rush Remastered, 2018, Shadow Colossus remake, 2020, Demon Souls. They could have had 2, 3 years development on another remake, and we could have had something like in 2023 or 2024, and then something coming out later this year or 2027. Like, you could have done so much with these guys, and they could have been your. I mean, look how many fucking, like, you had Naughty Dog. Now, obviously, Naughty Dog was doing it because they're either working on tech or whatever. When they did like the Last of Us Part 1 remake, it's like, okay, that's a learning experience. That's why you keep it in house, because you also have
mhm.
factions going on, whatever. Okay. But like, and then they announced like we talked about last time or last week, whatever, it was like the state of play. They announced the God of War 1, 2, and 3 remakes. I'm like, okay, you could have kept them on as a support studio for that. Like, it's what pisses me off the most, I guess, too, is like, you close the studio, but then you say, "Oh, but we can help absorb these employees. We'll work with you to help absorb you into other places." I'm like, that okay. One, I know you're not going to be able to absorb 100%, but let's say you could absorb 50 into other studios. You're still paying people for those positions. So it seems weird, like, oh, we're going to close it down, but we could still keep some of the staff and just move them to other places if they, can uplift their lives from wherever they are to this other studio. It seems like, okay, well, you're just shifting resource allocation. Like, that doesn't make any sense for a studio that's like you could clearly make money with if you did something, but or let them go
The
independent. I don't
the
know.
gamble there is, like, they're gambling that more people will not, want to shift to a different department and uproot their lives and
Yeah, yeah,
yada, yada,
yeah.
and so now, like, "Oh, we're gonna give you this opportunity, but we know that, like, 20% of you are going to accept it."
And
If that
I assume, because they acquired them in 2021, I assume there must be conversations like, "Hey, when I close you, or do you wanna go independent?" Like, there's I'm curious, like, what stops that from happening? Like, is it just
Mhm.
you don't have any money? Like, the people who owned, who was leadership of Bluepoint before the acquisition? Like, is there just not enough in it? Did they put too much of their money into trying to, I don't know, build whatever you're working on, even though that money should come from Sony? Like, I'm curious what that process is. Like, why can't you just go indie? Because you were already indie before. Now, obviously, you do that because you were covered by project funding from these people you were working with and yada yada. And I guess if you didn't
I
have
mean,
anything lined up, it's like, okay, we just stay alive for a couple months, hoping you get something, and then you don't. But it's like, I feel like these guys could have got something.
I kind of feel like though the reason, well, I'm sure there's contractual reasons, but I feel like the reason you go from indie to being purchased is because you need the cash influx and stability. So going in
Sure.
the opposite direction, unless you have like one or two games lined up, how do you, I guess, like, how do you bridge the gap of suddenly we need to start new production, but we're not going to have any influx of cash, but we need to start production on a game and get it out within 2 years to pay our staff, but we have no cash coming in.
Well, it's gotta be like, I imagine there has to be, and I would hope there'd be, like, a severance package, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe you all get together and you're like, for the people who don't move over, like, laterally to another part of PlayStation, and usually when this happens, a lot of people be like, "Hey, we're hiring. Also, we have some unannounced positions open. You can come work with us." But again, like a sports team, you have to move to a different place to go, continue working or whatever. But like, if they get severance, it's like, couldn't it just be, okay, use that to keep ourselves afloat and then stay independent and then try to, for short term, like, I figure you could probably make a deal with someone within a couple months and then get funding from that publisher to be like, okay, we'll do a remake of, I don't know, whatever game. And then it's like, okay, now we've got the funding. Cause like, they've clearly had the track record. And I feel like you could stay afloat long enough. Although I guess if the games industry is in such a weird position because, everybody keeps, there's been so many layoffs. Like, maybe it's not just the industry as a whole isn't solvent enough from publisher standpoint that even if they did do that, no one would want to. Who out there has an IP that they feel is strong enough to get a remake? I guess. outside of Sony or Xbox, but then we're gonna talk about Xbox in a second. It's like, yeah, it just seems just really weird. I don't know, man.
Mhm.
This one really pissed me off more than anything because I'm like, you fumbled it so fucking hard. So like, and I never comment about these things in like socials, but I retweeted this, like not tweeted. I don't know what they call them, Blue Sky. I reblued it, whatever.
I
Um,
re-skied. I
yeah,
re-skied.
I butterfly flap my wings because that's their logo, and I was like, how do you fuck this up? Like, it's so easy, this one, and you guys, whatever, man, I don't fucking get it. But yeah, it was just like, I don't know, man. There's got to be some. I feel like there needs to be better. I don't know, acquisition protection or something. And, they always talk about companies are people. Companies are people. It's like, no, the people are people, man. But like, there's got to be something there, like some sort of law. You probably won't get it now. Where it's like, if you acquire someone, especially like some sort of anti-monopoly or I don't know, some weird thing. Like, if you acquire someone, like it's always the fear whenever there's an acquisition that people are going to get fired as part of an acquisition, especially if it's from someone a bigger company, usually not outside the gaming
I
industry.
Mhm.
There's got to
just
be
like
like protections in
I feel
place
like the
for
other
shit like
weird thing
this.
about this, like the kind of going off of the protections comment, is they didn't acquire Bluepoint that long ago.
No,
So
2021.
yeah, so it's like at that point, it just sounds like it almost seems like you're just trying to close a studio, which is weird. I know I don't think that's what they were actually doing, but like it does kind of feel like there should be some protection of like for X number of years, your studio will like have some level of safety or autonomy or like just something because it does feel like you're purchasing to close a studio, which, Microsoft, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's weird.
Yeah, it's like it hasn't even been 5 years, and it's like with the dev cycles you have now, like, yeah, there should be something in place, like, if some sort of contractual thing now, like, people, I don't know, they gotta start doing this, like, if we fail on something that we pitch you for an internal IP, whatever, and that goes wrong, that's our fault. But, like, if whatever we're working on that tanks us is from you and we give it our best, but it's like that's management's fault. Like from Sony, like I said, it's like that falls on them. These people shouldn't be laid off and closed down because of it. It's like it feels like again, it's just as someone who's worked in at a company for so long, it's the amount of times I realize people are just there, like doing a job, but not to like diminish anything, but like lack extra skills, I guess. Like there's so many people in positions of power. Like I think about this, like I saw a tweet from AOC who was like hitting back at what's that dumb fuck? I forget that guy's name, but some senator was like, "Oh, she worked at a bar, blah blah," and she's saying like, "Yeah, it makes me way more qualified to represent working people." And I feel like that at a corporation where it's like someone in a position of leadership should have firsthand experience in the thing that they are managing or doing, right? You wouldn't have someone who's a sales manager who never worked in sales. Like just because you have
Mhm.
managerial experience in something else, like okay, you know how to manage people, but if you don't know shit about what they're doing, it's like I feel like sometimes that's the case. Like how many people are in charge at Sony who have no like we talk about like we just talked about the dev that passed away. It's like they've been working in that you know games for a long time. We're going to talk about Phil Spencer in a sec and like how he started as like a tester and worked his way up through the thing. Like these are people who know what they're, essentially managing eventually once they did it because they've been through every step. And I feel like there's how many people aren't like that in these higher up positions who like have no idea what it's like to actually make a game. They only know how to work in some fucking business title position, but they don't know what the fuck how anything is done below it. It just
Mhm.
I don't know. And this feels like that. Like come on.
I
Anyways.
mean, absolutely. It's clearly somebody who I can't even like in the past have been like, okay, well, this is only done because whoever is doing it is just looking at numbers. They're not looking at people or like feedback or anything. They're just looking at numbers in Excel. But this is like those numbers that they're looking at in Excel aren't horrible. They're not like close the studio worthy. So like who in their right mind made this decision and who along the way agreed to it completely. It's just
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
don't know.
almost like they it's almost like they sent the wrong email out with like the wrong name and were too embarrassed to admit it. And so like now this whole
That's funny.
kerfuffle has
That
happened.
That's really funny.
It's like they copy and pasted into the wrong, like, template. That's what it seems like,
Yeah.
more than any kind of, like, rational reasoning.
Yeah. Oops.
That
Well,
would
I
be
guess
Yeah.
a wild. I don't think that's what happened, but that would be a wild mistake.
Obviously not, because somebody at some point would have been like, no, actually," but, I mean, that's what it seems like. Like,
yeah.
the wrong studio got closed down is what it seems like.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
Or they were like, "Oh, pass this on to, this studio and, pass this bad news on to this other studio," and they just flipped them on accident, and nobody will want to admit to their mistake.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
I said bring home 2 ribeyes, but
Mhm.
yeah, just it's
It's weird.
it of all the closures that they've had, this one seems like the dumbest
Mhm.
of them, but whatever. Anyways, moving on from that, the other crazy thing that happened this week is that Phil Spencer's retiring. And then Sarah Bond is also out at Microsoft because Sarah Bond was someone that they thought like, oh, she's clearly she was the Xbox president. Phil Spencer was this gaming CEO. Like clearly, she feels like the successor to Phil Spencer once he left. But yeah, she's out. Yeah, it's like I said, he joined as an intern in '88, and he's been with them since there. He was there at the first launch in '01 and everything. So like he's someone who's just been with Xbox for a long time, not even in the games division, like before they even had that. So but yeah, he's effective the 23rd. Like that's what's crazy. Like how close it is too. It's not even like, hey, I'm retiring next year. It's like tomorrow from when we're recording.
Mhm.
He's done. And then yeah, she's also Sarah Bonds. She's resigned. She didn't even like. She's just gone. And then the new CEO for Microsoft's game is going to be Asha Sharma, who's currently the president of Microsoft's Core AI. It's like okay, what's going on here? It's like this is interesting. Although Matt Booty did get promoted to chief content officer, and Matt Booty was previously the Xbox Game Studios head, so that at least Booty's still there because so they're not losing like everybody who was part of that team because it was Spencer, Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, who are always like talking kind of the face of everything, and it's like okay, Matt Booty's still there, but the other two are just he's retiring and she's gone. So it's like okay, what's going on? It seems like a crazy shakeup. Especially because it's like I think about when Jack Tretton retired from PlayStation. Like that motherfucker, he retired on the highest of notes. PlayStation 4 was in such a good position, and he's just like, "All right, I'm out. It's been 20 years," and it was like Jackie T just gone, and it's like great time to leave, man. But Phil, I feel like okay, where Xbox isn't in a super great spot, console wars wise, like not sure how well Game Pass is doing. Like, it's a great service, but how is it for your internal studios and payment distributions and stuff like that? But yeah, I again, this is another thing where it's like, okay, Asha Sharma is going into the role of CEO, but they were the open AI person. So it's like, what experience do you have with gaming? And don't just say I'm a gamer. You know what I mean? Like,
What experience do you have with the industry, not as a consumer?
yeah, it's like, okay, did she game a lot? Like, this because this is this is the quote here. I'm trying to see who this quote's from. It's just from Xbox itself or someone. I think this is from Spencer. Today marks an exciting new chapter for Microsoft Gaming as Asha Sharma steps into the role of CEO, and I want to be the first to welcome her to this incredible team. Working with her over the past several months has given me tremendous confidence. She brings genuine curiosity, clarity, and deep commitment to understanding players, creators, and decisions that shape our future. I'm like, okay, to me, that sounds like she doesn't know anything about the games division or ever worked in one. Is former VP of Product and Engineering at Meta and former Instacart COO, who is also a board member of the Home Depot. She joined Microsoft in 2024. Okay, so again, this is where
I
in the
hate
resume
I
no,
hate that.
no offense to her. This isn't like I'm not attacking her, but you only have experience in positions of leadership. Where's your experience in the games? And
Mhm.
again, that's my problem. And it's like why? Like I hear a lot of time like Mario's like, oh, so and so's coming over here. They previously worked in this division. It's like, okay, both of these divisions are technically medical, but like that one's different. So they have no knowledge and they have to learn how to get up and running here. It's like, okay, you have no experience in this part of it. You just know the leadership. So it's like, okay, now you have to rely It's like, but do they rely on the people that report to them to educate them on the business? Like we get a lot where like people like, hey, can I do a one-on-one with you? I want to learn about what you do, yada yada. They're new to what we do, our business unit, and we explain like, yeah, this business unit is brand new to me, so I'm just kind of learning everything. Like, okay, they're taking initiative, they're learning, but how much of that is like how much did Phil teach her, and then does she? Anytime I find out about a leadership person in gaming who doesn't game themselves. Like Phil Spencer's fucking that dude was playing video games all the goddamn time. Like people would see him
Mhm.
on Xbox Live. Like he was Shuhei Yoshida, big gamer. You know what I mean? Man, I'm blanking on the guy's name who was the Vita. Oh my god, what was his name? Man, the guy that like he was champion of the PlayStation Vita back in the day. Oh, I blank on his name, but he was a big gamer too at Sony. But yeah, like the people in leadership there were always like, huge for the most part. Maybe not Jackie T, but he, I think I forget where he started within Sony. But yeah, it's just like, okay, big shakeup on your leadership for Xbox. I'm curious how this is gonna go. And she's gonna have to, put her face forward if she's taking the spot of Phil, who was always, front face on all the Xbox stuff. So we'll see. But I just thought that was a crazy thing that happened this week.
It would
It was
be
weird.
it would be far less bizarre if she came in and was like, "Oh yeah, this has always been like kind of a passion of mine and it's exciting to, learn it from the inside and I've only been like a passive observer." Yeah, just like in general, just like I've been a casual consumer of this thing and I have this leadership and I wanted to give it a shot. Okay, that's fine. That's great. Do
Yeah,
you
maybe
care about any of this? Like,
right, yeah. Maybe there'll be some kind of like a to the gamers fireside chat of being like, she's like, I'm happy to be part of the team. I've talked closely with Phil Spencer about this. I and then maybe she lists off a series of games that she likes. Maybe she is a gamer, but like work wise, there's no evidence of that.
mhm.
Not that you necessarily have to, if you're, a lot of people want to work in games who play video games and they don't necessarily get to, but it's like some sort of reassurance, you know what I mean? To
Yeah,
to your to the
anything.
Xbox base, like, yeah, because I feel like it's gonna be, it's gonna be hard as well because you have so many people who are like just dumbasses online who are probably gonna, troll and be sexist assholes as well. Like
Mhm.
regardless of your experience, even if you were a big gamer, it's like, oh yeah, name 3 Xbox franchises, or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like,
like, it's hard enough to be, a female in a leadership position.
mhm.
I hope you understand what you're getting into.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, that's
Welcome to
it.
hell.
Yeah, it's also weird when I see like people in high-ranking positions bounce around a lot. Um, it's always like I wish like she just joined Microsoft in 2024 as the open AI person, and then 2 years
What?
later, maybe not even 2 years later, like now she's going to the Xbox side, and I'm like, it's such short-lived, and like when she was former VP of product and engineering at Meta, how long was she in that position? And then when she was the former Instacart COO, how long was she in that position? Like, I feel like people in like COOs, CFOs in positions like that, like anytime I hear that they've been moved around a lot, I'm always like, but why? Why is it just talent poaching of like, hey, we want you to come here, we'll pay you more, and so they have not that they need like company loyalty, but like I've been at my job for 22 years and or coming up in 22 years, and it's like part of that is just I'm used to it. So like, okay, I don't want to start over, but
Mhm.
like it's just it's weird when I hear that people are in this like, okay, you did this one thing for not even 2 years, and now you're doing something else within Microsoft. But I don't know. We'll see. It's just weird. Not that I'm again not an Xbox person, but Phil was definitely that's some big shoes to not to pun, but to fill. Uh, but yeah, crazy week. Not too much else. I did
Weird,
see a fun.
very
I
weird.
I didn't comment on it, but I had it saved for a bit. But there's like a story. There's like a Pokemon store in some place called like Poke Center or something like that, or Pokemart, whatever. And they got robbed a while ago, and like someone at gunpoint, and some people like stole like $10,000 worth of Pokemon cards or whatever. And like it made like I think they were like a mom and pop style shop, and they made like national headlines. But because that Nintendo was like, "Yo, you gotta change your name. You can't be Poke Center anymore. Like, you gotta change it." And so they changed it
Oh my
to
god.
something else. I thought that was really funny. It's like, it's such a weird, like, "Yo, cease and desist, the name. We can't be associated with that." Uh,
That is such a Nintendo thing, though. They're like,
uh
not
Yeah,
even like, "Hey, sorry that happened," like, or just not even commenting on it, who cares? Like, you don't need
right.
to interfere, but, yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a Nintendo thing to be like, actually, actually,
Yeah.
up."
Yeah, we'd like to distance ourselves. We don't want that name. We don't want
I swear to
the
God, it's
robbery.
like 1 step forward and 8 steps back with them constantly.
Yeah. But, all right. Well, we can go ahead and move on to what we've been playing. We'll start with you, Izzy, because you were out. I know, obviously, you don't play too much on your computer, so I feel like even though your computer was down, you probably were still fine playing
Yeah.
video games on PlayStation.
No, it really didn't stop me too much. I played and beat Cairn, so
Well,
I
yeah,
feel
you
like last
you beat it
last
last
time.
time we talked about it,
No,
right?
no.
No,
I
he
thought
he
I'd
bought
started
it, I
it.
think.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
bought it and I was playing through it and
well,
I was only a few hours in last
oh, right,
time.
right. You weren't sure. That's right. You weren't sure. You were talking about how there was more to it than what you thought, but you weren't sure
Yeah,
how far you were, and you didn't want to look up. Okay,
yeah.
so that's right.
So I actually wasn't as far as I thought. I was only like a third of the way through the game. I
Okay.
apparently explore way more than any other human when they play these types of games. Uh, I really enjoyed it. So I kind of have the same opinions I did from my like initial impressions, which is it's a really fun exploration game, and it's essentially like a lore-driven and exploration and survival-driven game that has a nice story to it. The fact that the marketing almost sells it as like a climbing simulator is such a disservice to the game, and
Hmm.
I think that had I known that was not the case going in, I probably would have been a lot more excited. But it's a phenomenal game. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a lot of fun doing the climbing exploration. It's also really fun actually trying to find things. The game is just like it's a lot deeper than what marketing and how people talk about it like really let on, and I absolutely enjoyed that. So the story is, I won't give spoilers for it, but it's about a girl who's setting off to summit a mountain. And then, like, as she's summiting the mountain, you get kind of like not flashbacks into her life, but you get hints at her life based on her interactions with. She has like this little robot that follows her around, and you get like calls and messages on the robot, and that kind of gives you flashbacks and little hints into her life. But that's kind of like her own personal story that explains like why she's climbing the mountain and what she's hoping to get out of it.
Hmm.
But then like as you're climbing the mountain, you also get lots of lore about the world with like little small stories and bigger stories that are all quite interesting. And you can find like just you can find abandoned relics, you can find like newspaper clippings, you can find a bunch of stuff that gives you hints about like life. And it's not like, oh, there's giant aliens or anything. It's more of like you get hints about what happened to the mountain and what happens to a bunch of the climbers on the mountain. Or like you'll find a skeleton and the skeleton will have like a note to someone, and you get like half the story, and then you climb up further on the mountain and you find another skeleton and you realize it's like the person's partner, and you get the other half of the story. So there's a lot of like little moments like that that make the game really enjoyable trying to explore. It also has like upgrades and things you can find to make the game, easier or play different, that kind of tie into the survival elements. And that system is a lot, uh, not like deep per se, but makes it a lot more fun than if it was just like a climbing simulator. So all of this together, it was like absolutely fantastic game. Really enjoyed playing it. And then on top of all of that, the visuals are gorgeous. The world is actually really gorgeous. The gameplay is fun. The music is pretty good. There are some janky elements with the ragdoll physics that like she she apparently loves climbing so much that she really struggles when you have to like get her off of the mountain and onto solid ground. And there were a few instances where you're like 6 inches above solid ground and there's like a jump button to like jump off the mountain so you could land, and you'll like hold jump and she just fucking launches herself backwards, and she'll like launch herself like 10 feet backwards. So there were a few instances where there's like a wood plank ledge that I'm trying to like get down on top of so that I can rest and regain my stamina, and I'll hold the jump button to get off, and instead she launches herself like 10 feet backwards past the ledge off the cliff, and I'm like, well, that's a death. So like there's some physics jank that they probably need to fix in a patch, but I would say that like barely impacted my game at all. It happened like twice, and I was just like, this is absurd, but whatever. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very. I feel like I'm very rarely surprised by myself enjoying a game. Usually, I feel like nowadays I'll go into a game knowing I'm going to love it, or already being like somewhat apprehensive about it. And this was a game where I kind of went in without any expectations of the game itself or what my enjoyment level would be. I'm not really even sure why. I mean, like I know I bought it because I played the demo, but I'm not really even sure why I was like, well, I'll at least give this a shot, even though it doesn't seem like my jam. I think it was just like boredom one day, but really glad I played it. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to picking it up. What about you,
And you
Sai? What
already
do you?
know,
Oh,
you already know more about the game than I did when going in, so I'm going to be curious, like what your opinion is of it afterwards.
yeah, I do know this. It doesn't necessarily make me like. I guess I would be fine if I didn't know it, but I'm like, that's okay. I'll still enjoy. Like for me, it's gonna be the mechanics of everything and the climbing, and just doing the gameplay. All the explorations, all the other stuff will be just be like, okay, sure. Like they didn't really spoil things about it, just like what you find.
Hmm.
Like
The fact
like
that
okay,
it's like
anyways.
more story driven rather than just kind of a Bennett Foddy type of game.
Yeah, yeah. Those essentially like yeah. There's more to it than just a Bennett Foddy or a
Yeah, it is not a
baby
not
steps.
a Bennett Foddy game.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely
Yeah.
not.
What about you, Zai? With just FF and
Mm-hmm.
Chaos
Mm-hmm.
Rings?
Actually, just Final Fantasy.
Just Final
I
Fantasy?
have.
No.
Yeah. I look, I have hyperfixation issues, and now this is my hyperfixation. So I come home and I sit on the game and I do it's like my comfort thing. I do the same like 6 fates in a crescent that I do every freaking night, but it's just like that's just what I do. I don't know. I did try I've been trying to learn Dragoon again because I got it to 100 and I was just like, "Oh, it's fun." Um, I'm bad at it. It's just that's just like what I've been doing is trying to learn it again. But there's so many like at 100, there's so many things that you can weave in and out of your cooldowns. It's just like I don't know where to put my hand. So I kind of just gave up and was like, that's okay. I'll stick to dancer. It's fine. But no, this is yeah, I'm like hyper fixated on it right now. So you can tell I'm playing it right now. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Just there's not even really like anything necessarily coming out for it very soon because they kind of just did an update and now the Savage tier is out, so people are like doing that and working on that. And I don't know if there's going to be another big update before FanFest because that's in April. It's like at the end of April. So it's like I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing in it. I'm just doing nothing pretty much, but what can you do? Sometimes you just need to humor the ADHD and then move on with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of in the similar boat because I was like, I didn't play too much this week. I was like, I got some new, like, put together some Warhammer models, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just paint this model this week, like in the little
Mm,
time that I have available in the evenings. And I was watching stuff and at the same time and whatnot. And yeah, I'm like almost done with this model. It was like it was funny. It was my so my one arm, my main Space Marine armies Ultramarines were blue, and I have like a bunch of them in various states of you know, doneness, where I have like a ton
in
of them are
progress.
primed. Yeah, just in progress. I have a ton that are primed. I have my 2 dreadnoughts that are basically done. I just need to base them and put on the decals, and then do some chip damage I want to do to their paint. So I have them just waiting to do that. So they're like at 99%. And then I have some other vehicles that are primed and basically like at 80%. I just need to do some minor details and on them. And then I have this company of heroes unit who I've done like a bunch of painting on them, like all the gold, the trim, the cloth, the cape, the all the stuff, some guns and whatnot. I just have like minor details I need to finish on those. I just kind of stopped. And then I was like, you know what? I'll do this guy. It's like the 2 characters I bought are like main leaders of the Salamanders, which are the green faction. Like they're green color. I'm like, oh, it'd be fun to have us play Salamanders as well as Ultramarines. Like, oh well, after done with Ultramarines and finishing up my Tyranids, I'll I'll start collecting Salamanders. But I've been like collecting units I need for Salamanders. I was like, oh, I'll pick up the 2 leaders And then I looked at videos on, like, how to paint them. I was like, "You know what? I kinda wanna paint my first." Like, I one of my extra dreadnoughts, which was like I started painting in the green color, but I don't really consider that, like, painting a proper salamander marine unit. Like, it's just a vehicle that has green panels instead of blue panels, and some other minor cosmetic stuff. But overall, it's very similar to just painting. The other one I did, it's like, "You know what? I'm just gonna go to town and paint this extremely detailed one unit that in a faction I'm not even running." Like, I have a
Mood.
couple characters in my Ultramarines. I haven't even done them. Like, the 2 characters I have one other character that's essentially done. I just need to base him, and he's a Tech Marine who's a character that's red because 'cause they're from the, Abdectus Mechanicus. They're just working with whatever unit you put them with, but it's a red unit, so it's not even a proper Space Marine. And this one who's the green, like, I have 2 and I started working on the other one too. I was like, "Oh, let's paint it." It was fun because like, oh, new colors, and I've never done fire before, so it's like, okay, this will be like I can practice fire, do all this stuff, and I love metallics, and this has a lot of that's why I like vehicles. And this has a lot of gold on this character, so I'm like, "Ooh, this is fun, just a lot of gold." But, yeah, it's like I just had a lot of fun painting him. And then I got the other guy. He started, doing that, and then I assembled a couple more units the other last night, and then I primed a couple of them the other day in green. The one problem I have is, like, there's for primers, there's not a good green primer from Citadel, who's the main paint brand that I buy. That's the Games Workshop, paint line, and there's other ones out there. There's, like, AK, paints, and there's a few other ones that are people like a lot, but I just stick with Citadel. But I like their primers, so it's like the blue is great. You just prime blue. There, you got your base coats for your Ultramarines. I got black if you're doing like Death Watch or something. You can prime in black. You got pretty much covered. But there's no good green primer, and I found one from this company. I forget their name. The Color Forge. And my only problem with the primer is like it doesn't really adhere. Like whatever substance is in primer that makes it actually stick to stuff, like, it's not as good. Like, the way you're supposed to paint miniatures is you, like, have 1 or you have a couple lined up, and you do, like, a quick sweep, like, like, kinda like you're, I guess, applying, like, hairspray or something, but a little faster, like, a couple passes,
Mhm.
rotate, couple passes, and the pigments really stick. Like, black obviously sticks really well, blue sticks well. The white for my Tyranids is it sticks well, but because it's white, it doesn't necessarily you don't notice right away that it's sticking because it's white. But it sticks really well. The green, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's like I think it might be the speed at which it's expelling from the can is too fast. Like it's got too much propellant or something. Because I feel like if I pass at the same speed I normally do, I'm not seeing it adhere to the model. But if I go a little slower, then it's really going better. But then if the problem is you go too slow, then you get too much paint piled up and then you lose the details in the model. So I was like trying to do like, oh, what if I prime it in black first and then once that dries after 15 minutes, prime it in the green. And I tried that and I don't know, it's like I have to go a little slower when I prime with this green. And I'm thinking I'm probably just gonna move over. There's another brand called Army Painter, and they have a green that's really good for salamanders. But the problem is like they don't have it in stock at my local store. It's this specific color is not sold on Amazon, and if I get it on their website, it's like $17 shipping for whatever
Oh
reason,
my god.
unless I spend like $70 and then it's free. But it's like, okay, you sell stuff I do like they have magnets that I buy from them, not from them directly, but I buy their magnets. I buy their super glue. They sell green stuff, which is like a blue yellow epoxy you mix together so you can like create custom molds or whatever you want for your models. And it like once you mix it and you set it, it dries and it hardens. And I use green stuff a lot for usually like magnetization. I'm not like a big like custom like a lot of people use it for like custom they make like custom cloaks or capes or whatever for models that don't have it. They
Mhm.
get really creative. Or like for the demons, they use them for like horns and shit like that, like crazy stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So they sell green stuff, and I'm like, okay, I could buy a lot of stuff from them, but this I don't necessarily need all that right now. So it's like I'm just trying to right now. I'm just gonna finish off the can of the green. I've got. I think too. The other problem I had yesterday with it was pretty windy, and that didn't help towards, like, as soon as the paint, like, left the can, like, the wind started making it curve and stuff, so I had, like, okay, duck down behind the veranda edge and be like, "Okay, spray it out of here. That way it hits the mud a little better. And I think it just maybe I don't know, like maybe it's fine, but it's just it's like trying to find that balance of speed to spray it with is tough. 'Cause I was practicing with it and I was looking at models like, oh, it's I still see all the details for the models I did yesterday, and they turned out pretty well. And I like how they are right now. But like with the character model that I shared in Discord, for that one, I spray painted him gray, and then I used what they call contrast paints, which are like more the opacity of them is lower. So, or like, yeah, lower. So that way, usually what you do with contrast is you do like a zenithal highlight of black and then just a spray of like white to simulate a light position. And then when you put the contrast over, it's like you still get the color, but the underlying primer stands out more, so you get a little more depth to the model. But I was like, I typically don't use contrast on any of my models. I like to base them in the solid color. But I was like, you know what? I'll try it with this contrast method. I've been very apprehensive about contrast paint. So because this isn't a Space Marine or an Ultramarine, it's a Salamander, it'll be something new. And I really like the way it turned out. And I've been using contrast paints on my Tyranid battle line units because there's so many of them and they're small. And I actually don't mind the way it looks on those models, but I don't like contrast necessarily on my bigger ones. Like, especially for me, the purple on the carapace, it looks different than a solid purple for
Mm.
my carapace. So usually what I'll do is I'll do one layer of the contrast because it has great coverage. And you usually only have to do one quick pass and you're done versus like a solid base paint. You have to do like 2 or 3 coats sometimes. Especially if you don't thin it properly or make it too thin, whatever. So I'll do the contrast first, then I go over it with like 1 coat of the purple. Saves time and it's really good. You got to be careful so you don't reactivate the contrast paint. But I'll do that, and I did that for a set of units of 3 that were kind of like medium-sized units. I was like, okay, this method worked pretty well. I tried it on a bigger unit, and I liked the way it turned out. It's not exactly the same as doing just the purple base, but it's a nice middle ground. But I think for characters for the salamanders, I'll probably do the contrast method, and for all the other battle line units, I'll just do a green primer to save time. Because like it's so easy when 90% of your paint can just be the base primer and you're done. Versus having to like paint it on every bit of primer or of that base coat can be time consuming. But because these are characters, it's like it's only this one. It's a unique one. I'll do it this way. It's totally fine. Plus, it'll make him stand out as the unique character unit with whatever battle line characters he has that aren't exactly. It's like more of a special. But that way, at least my battle line has the same kind of consistency. But anyways, but yeah, not a lot of a lot of Warhammer stuff. It was funny though when I had these 3 models, and when their heads are in them, I was like, they had these really defined helmets. It was like, the way they're looking, like if they make them look for whatever reason, like to the left and the right, I'm like, I can't really get a good angle on them if they're glued on. I was like, you know what? I won't glue these on. I'll paint them separately, which I typically don't do. And so that's that'll be fine. But they have like little pegs, like peg fit perfectly, so they hit the right pose for the model. You can cut it off if you want and post however you want. But I was like, I'll leave this on. So I set them in the models, right? So I know, like, okay, I just take them out. But I forgot I did that. So I picked up 3 models and I was going outside, to go paint them. And I had another one, and then like one of the heads fell off, and I was like, and I caught it, but I was like, oh, that's right, I didn't glue the heads. But then I only had 2 helmets. I didn't have a third one. I was like, where's my third helmet? Oh shit, did I drop it and it fell through the porch and outside on the ground? I was like, oh no. And then I remembered that, oh no, I didn't cut off the third helmet off the sprue and put it on there because I stopped because I was like I originally cut off a different one. I was like, I don't want this. I want the fully covered helmet look. I don't want the face look. And I just didn't. But I panicked like for 5 minutes, wondering like, where did I drop the other helmet? Because there's only so many on the sprue. So I was like, oh, I gotta find it. But
The
that
thought of
scared me.
like your models just like falling apart as you're walking, you're like, I didn't actually glue anything. That's like a that's like a nightmare of like forgetting to do your homework level.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually what I do is I'll take the model, like if they didn't have the peg, I had this other one where it's like, oh, I put the head on some blue tack, and then I put the blue tack onto the body, and I just had it held there. That way I could take the head off, prime the model, and then I could take the blue tack off so the plastic's still exposed, so I can plastic glue it. Because you can't plastic glue if there's paint on it, obviously, because it's a chemical reaction. So that's what I'll do is I'll make sure I covered the bottom of each so I can have solid plastic. But these ones, I was like, oh, I didn't put the blue tack because they have little pegs on them to keep them in place. I was like, oh well. But yeah, I still got some other stuff I got to put together. And yada yada, more stuff to paint. But man, I had this one vehicle I picked up and put together, and I didn't realize it was going to be so much bigger than the other
Did you
tanks I
just
have.
reach over to grab the vehicle so you could talk about it?
Well, I have it right here on my display, but yeah, I did move away from the mic real quick.
No,
I was making
I
sure it
was
was
like,
back.
you moved away from the mic. I'm like, are you reaching over to pick it up so you can like hold it up and look at it and be like, let me describe this?
No, but it's like it's bigger than the other vehicles. Like a lot of vehicles I have they're usually, especially because they're older ones, they're like they have one design and then they just make iterations on that one design. That way they can like save time and manufacturing costs. But then eventually they came out with a new design of vehicle in like 8th edition, maybe ninth, I don't know. And so there's been a lot of like it's like a floating tank. And there's been a lot of designs on that where it's like, okay, a lot of the floating tanks look like this. But I got this one and it's like it's bigger than the other floaty tank I got. And I'm like, why is it so much bigger than the other tank? But I guess because it's a transport vehicle, like that's
Just a
why
big
it's so
tank.
big. Yeah. Well, because like even my Land Raider was like my biggest tank, but it's like that's an old model that's like supposed to be big because it's a giant transport tank. It's like, okay, that makes sense that this is so big, but I didn't realize like I forgot that this vehicle is technically a transport vehicle, even though it's a tank. And it was pretty big. I was like, oh my god, is this gonna fit on my display shelf? So, but yeah. Oh man, I didn't talk about it on I talked about my cousin talking about the other thing real quick is like so one of the I had like a new part of the salamanders is that they grow up on like this lava planet and part of their genes or whatever their skin color is like a dark black like a and they have like red eyes is that so I'm like okay now typically I don't have a lot of unhelmeted characters I just always put the helmet on because I like the helmet look better even for some of my named characters like Titus from Space Marine 2 I have his helmet on I don't have it for Marnius Calgar because Marnius Calgar doesn't wear a helmet but like, okay, the salamander character I have here, it's just he has his head exposed. I'm like, okay, so I gotta learn how to paint this black. So it's like, okay, they use a different black color uh, in the tutorials. They say, oh, for this contrast, instead of using Black Legion, which is what I use this black. I was like, okay, so I bought the black. I went to go open it up, and like halfway through opening it, it has like these little plastic bits that um, are like the the sections between paper towel sheets to where like you just pick up the lid and it breaks those off against the base ring that's staying onto the pot. And I like start halfway picking it up and I stop. I'm like, I should shake this first. So I close it down. I went to go shake it. I start shaking it. And I guess for some reason, because I only opened it up part of the way and then closed it, it didn't seat properly onto the lid. And all of a sudden I feel that my fingers are wet. And then I look up and I had splashed this black contrast paint all over my second monitor, up the wall, on the wall that I had my display shelf with like
God.
multiple finished Tyranids and all my other stuff in progress. Luckily, I looked at it. I only had 2 models that each had 1 drop of this black contrast paint on them. One was a model that's unprimed. I just took it off her knee. I was like, easy. And the other one, it was on this guy's gun, which is supposed to be black anyway. So I just left it. I'm like, well, I don't need to wipe this off. It's going to be black once I start working on it. But none of my Tyranids got hit. Like, I was so worried, I just gave the wings of my Hive Tyrant a bunch of freckles underneath. That would piss me off. But I looked and, like, none of it got I think the way I was holding it, like, that's why so much of the black hit my monitor and the wall right above my monitor, but everything else was kind of, was protected. But, yeah, it was like, I panicked for so long. I had, like, a light out. I was shining it, looking at everything. Like, did anything get hit? And it was like, praise be. Like, thank God. Praise the Emperor.
Basically
But
just shook an open can of paint.
yeah, almost. But yeah, man, it was like because I've never had that happen before. But I think it was just because I only opened it halfway and then closed it. It didn't seat properly. But I was like, and then when I opened it up all the way after I cleaned everything off. I still got some part of the walls I got to clean.
I
And
would have
then
lost my shit. I would have just absolutely lost my shit.
well, it sucks. I didn't get much painting done that night too. That's what it's like because that was like starting to do like okay, I had the green. I was like, okay, now let's do the black. Because I picked up the green and the black at the same time because they didn't have the green I needed for a contrast at the logo place. I went to the Warhammer store that's to the south of me, and I was like ready for the second step, put on the black, and then it's like so I spent like a while cleaning everything up, like cleaning my monitor, which took a bit. And then it's like, of course, now I'm using a freaking rubbing alcohol on my monitor screen to get the paint off, which is like, oh well, it'll
Oh
be
my
fine.
god.
Luckily, I just quickly like wiped it off and then used water to help clean it as well. So, but got it most off all, but you can still see spots I got to clean off. I'm not bothered to do it right now. But yeah, it's like the time when I talked about where my first display shelf fell. It fell off the wall, and like all my models on it fell down, and then I had to go through them one by one and see which ones, if any of them broke. And luckily, only like 2 of them broke, but it was like they were so easy breaks that like it was either parts where they connected anyways, so I just glued them back together. And then one was like, oh, it was the middle of a body, which is weird, but I just glued it back together, so it was fine because they were just plastic. But it was like that's like so much could have gone wrong when that shelf fell down. That this was like, oh man, it just would have been annoying. Like if it had hit every model, like if it had hit any ones that were just primed, I'll just go over them with some prime with the color that was primed, easy. But the ones that were completed would have pissed me off, especially the Tyranids. Like, oh my god, now I have to
At least it
carefully
just
go
kinda,
through
like,
them.
sprayed a little bit and didn't completely dump out.
Yeah. Well, like I said, because the whole thing was closed, it was, and I think
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the way I was holding it, I wasn't like holding it up and down. I was also kind of holding it at an angle. So it was like that's the only reason that any paint was kind of laying on that side during the shake that it could have got away, which is also why it sprayed primarily on my monitor and the part of the wall behind it versus all the way up if I had done like fully up and down vertical. So but yeah, it was scary. But yeah, then I wrapped it up in a paper towel when I went to go shake it up again. I'm like, okay, let's do a test shake. Like, okay, we're good.
You just put it in, like, a locked box, a locked acrylic box.
Yeah. Because I've knocked over paints before. Like I did that with one of my other black paints where I like knocked it over. I'm like, oh, got black paint everywhere. Now like, let's clean it up.
Mhm.
Luckily, but it's like that's just a mess, whatever. I knocked over my Tamiya plastic glue on my, but I have like a what do they call, like a craft mat on my desk that I use. And you can see like
Mhm.
there's this spot where all the plastic glue hit it, and like all the white grid lines, it just got rid of them. It's like the plastic glue's like, nah, you're gone now. So, like I wiped it away. There's just no this splotch where it's like just no grid lines on it. Okay.
Jeez, just, like, corrosively ate the paint.
Well, it's like it's that's what plastic glue is, just chemical reaction. So it just melts
Yeah.
plastic into each other. Uh,
Ugh.
but it's so much nicer than super glue. I hate because super glue I hate, man. It's like one bottle I had, like it air and moisture gets into the bottle so easily, and then
Mhm.
it's like if you use too much, because sometimes it can be really hard to like get the right amount. It leaves the super glue just gets like crusty, like wherever it goes
It turns, like,
outside the mouth.
solid white.
Yeah, I was like, and you can kind of clean it, but it's like it's really annoying. And like I had these Tyranid models where I had to buy resin bodies for them because like the box lets you create 2 different models, but you only have enough bits for like the arms and the head for the other one, so you have to buy like a resin body off eBay or Etsy or whatever. So I bought these resin bodies, but you can't use plastic glue on resin, so you have to use super glue. And it's like I don't like the way it looks. And it's the same with my other Hive Tyrant where you know I bought a resin body for that because I used the plastic one for the winged Hive Tyrant, so it's lighter. And it's like whenever I put the arms in, the arms had to be super glued, and it's just like, and you can kind of hide some of that with paint with the primer, but it's just like this weird little bits that are just super annoying that you can't really take care of. But
You ever get that
yeah.
type of super glue, like, it dries all crusty and, like, bumpy, and you don't really know what to do about it other than, I guess, sand it away, but then that just kind of makes it worse?
Yeah,
I
that's
hate when
what
it does
happens with
that.
this super glue, man. It's like
Yeah.
now, which is fine if it's in a spot like when I'm gluing like magnets to green stuff. I'll like, if there's a little bit, I was like, whatever, I don't care. It's hidden. That's the point of the magnets, to be in a spot that's hidden. But yeah, like for any of the models I had to do where it's like I had to use so I think when I bought like I was trying to look for models where I think they're away. I bought like a newer bottle of super glue to where it was like much more runnier because the other bottle I had, I guess somehow the lid wasn't sitting all the way. So then it was like it was super syrupy and like molasses inside the bottle. So it was a pain in the fucking ass to get out. But like, but then it's already in the process of curing versus like this new bottle. It's like very liquidy. I can just instantly pour it out, just dab on a little, and I think it's drying a little better. And the benefit of super glue too, at least, is that if you want it to go fast, you just put some baking powder on it or baking soda, and that just like gets it up. The one thing is like super glue dries because of the moisture. So I was like trying this thing where like before I had to put these tiny little arms into the resin body and I'd give it a little like that, just like I'm licking an envelope, just give it a little bit of moisture. It'd be like, maybe this will help it cure
A little bit of
faster.
that.
Yeah. Right. Like that's a little bit of that. And just put it in there. I think it helped, but I don't know. But it's a little bit of moisture. It's like maybe it helped. Maybe it helped it, super glue cure better. But yeah. Anyways, super glue. And then the problem with my old bottle too is every time I dab some and then I pulled away, there'd be like this, like you get pizza with like super stringy cheese. There's like this one little like super glue string that just wouldn't go away. I'm like, go, stop it. You're like this floating web of super glue I can't get rid of, and I don't want you to get on anything. Like, stop it, man. But yeah, I tossed that shit and just bought a new bottle. I was like, get out of here. But anyway, good stuff. Hopefully, I'll play some games this week.
You gonna play Cairn?
I'm hoping to play Cairn. I keep playing. I mean, not that I'm not playing stuff. I play like Balatro and Auction Not Included, but I'm not playing anything like new. So I play the same things I always play, stuff like that. But still playing Borderlands. I just don't have anything new to talk about Borderlands for. So nothing new. But yeah, I'll get Cairn. There is a lot of stuff. There's that new game that came out. We talked about in Discord. Was it Super Battle Golf,
Super Battle Golf,
which is on sale right now. It's 20% off. It's only $6.40.
That game is toxic. Oh my god. At least the people I was watching.
Yeah, I want to play it.
It looks really fun.
Do we need to get it, but have like a rage day playing it or something?
It's only a PC, so if your PC's working fine, if you can HDMI out to your TV, we should play it. But
yeah,
my PC is definitely not working fine.
Yeah, but I really want to play
twice during this call, it's just frozen entirely, and I've just sat there quietly because I'm like, well, I assume they're still talking, but I'm not going to transfer the call because that's going to be a pain in the ass. So we'll see what happens.
That's
oh
funny.
my god.
But yeah, I do want to play that game. So we should play it like at some point. I guess it's cheap, so we can all get it. We just gotta get Michael to get it.
Yeah, I should just go on now and get it for both of us while it's cheap. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's like $3 off or whatever. It's not that expensive normally.
Yeah, it's like $7.99 normally.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's $6.40. It's like, but it's cheap enough that I feel like you could get enough entertainment out of it for how cheap it is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's also another game I saw. It's a horror game. It came out at the end of January called Obey the Voice that I'm interested in. That game's only $8. I think it's a smaller indie horror title. It's like you're like in this space, but there's like a voice that tells you to do something. You're supposed to like obey the voice, but there's like a competing evil voice trying to tell you to do stuff. But there's like these creepy monsters in it as well. Be like, don't look at the monster. Don't. And I like it popped up in my. Sometimes I get like Instagram reels of people who post like video game stuff, and it's funny. Like it says the description for it just says obey. It's like you must always follow these rules, and it's like if you hear a voice other than the voice, ignore it. If you encounter a being you're uncertain is human, do not look at it. You may try to simply ignore it. No matter what, don't look at it. Detect any sign of life, having moved or moving, turn back immediately and press the red button. It's like other stuff like, so it's probably like going in a cycle, and if shit goes anomalous, you like got to get the hell out of there.
Oh, that's an interesting take on the like anomaly type of games because there's stuff like Exit 8.
Yeah,
which didn't they make a
that
movie
seems
about
interesting.
that?
Yeah, they have a movie coming out soon. There's a trailer for it. I saw someone
It's
play.
always like
yeah,
you're just kind of moving through like a room and you have to look for things that are different, but having like something kind of commanding you too. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and it's not randomized. It's like because it says like there's no randomized events. Like every challenge or whatever is like deliberate. So it's like okay, they specifically said like okay, this one is this, which kind of feels like that one game that came out, but that the cabin reviewer one, where it's like all those cabins around the conveyor belt.
Where you have to
inspect them.
Oh, yeah, the haunted house thing.
Yeah, and it's like okay, they kept getting weirder and weirder, and they're like creepy dolls and the creepy lady, and it's like, is this house haunted? Let it go. But yeah, this is like right here. It even says like it's only about like designed to be played in one sitting. That's about 90 minutes long. But I feel like with the tension in it, like it would take me longer than 90 minutes to play this game. I feel like that's a perfect. Like I feel like short horror games like this could be perfect, especially because like you got fail states. So it's like if you fail, you're gonna have to start over. I don't know what the reset point is going to be, but that looks like fun. It could be something I'll add to my wish list. But yeah, I definitely want to play the golf game. I feel like that would be really cool. But anyways, all right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. I got some things I got to go take care of soon, and we're at went pretty long because of the Bluepoint discussion, the Xbox bit. But yeah, hopefully I'll have some I'll play Cairn this week. Hopefully, I'll see how that goes.
Heck
I'll try
yeah.
to. I'll try to stream. I'm trying to get back in the stream, but I gotta just do the problem I have. My youngest is like he keeps some nights he'll be like, I can't go to sleep unless you hold my hand. Hold my hand. I'm like, you gotta just go to sleep. So I'm trying to like do stuff like, oh, maybe let's see if he doesn't want me to. Then maybe he'll just fall asleep on his own. Sometimes he's been falling asleep before that, or we'll tell him like, oh, daddy's hunting down the monsters, so you can go to sleep. Like some little thing. So I haven't been streaming, but what I need to try to do it where it's this, I just come back small, like instead of doing every night, just do like Tuesdays and Thursdays or something. Like just pick like 2 days and stick to those, and then do others if I have time. That way I can also do Warhammer painting and stuff like that in between and whatnot. But then I can play these games I've been wanting to play, because there are some games like I really want to play, but I'm like I want to play them on stream. Can be a good one. But anyways,
And also
all right.
hyper fixated on something else.
Yeah, that's it. I've had, and you have this night where it's like I have so much I could do, but nothing's speaking to me, and I don't know what I want to do. Which is why like I love building, because at least, like I said it before, but building Warhammer is always the right decision in that bit. Like I'm always happy with building new models.
Always the right move.
Well, it's like if I can't decide, like I know if I pick this, like it'll feel good. Like I love putting together. I can watch stuff while I do it. Blah blah. Like I love building.
No, I get
Like
that. Like you need something to do, and building always meets that need for you.
Yeah.
It's like the default option. Like
Yeah.
I could do this and be fine with it, but are there other things I would rather be doing? No, I'll just go ahead and do this.
Yeah, like it's just I'm not feeling the urge to do like, oh man, I want to play this, or I want to finish Tomb Raider, or I want to play Baby Steps or something. But it's like I'm just not. It's not pulling me, even though I know I want. I know if I do those things, I'll have fun doing them. It's just, but I'm not. They're not pulling me. It's like when you're hungry, but you're not craving anything. Anyways, all right. Well, yeah, that'll do it for this episode. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Zaya, for joining.
Yep.
And we'll see you all next time.
Later.
Bye.